TG Geeks, episode 370, March 21st, 2022. Max, Bones, and Phil. Touchies! Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona.
And I've been
sort of Pacific time now.
Yeah, and I'm Ben Raggington coming to you from the Pacific time of, I really hate that, Phoenix, Arizona.
I know.
We're so depressed that we're now in the Pacific times, and nothing, and we're not blasting
an hour
people
earlier.
That's the reason. It's like, because we're normally Mountain Time, and now with the new law, we'll be Pacific.
Yep. Let's get on with it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the two gay geeks are discussing this.
Well, in this episode, we are going to chat with Zachry Wheeler, who has written the Max and the Multiverse series, the Immortal Wake series, and has a new book out that is related to Immortal Wake. So it's a prequel, if you will. We have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, feedback, some feedbacks, our shout-outs, and in the second segment, we're going to talk about something that we watched this weekend.
If we have time.
And then our wacky weekly recap and a regular shout-out. So let's get on talking to Zachry. And we welcome back to our show Zachry Wheeler, author extraordinaire, I would say. He's written quite a few things, the Immortal Wake series and the Max and the Multiverse series and the little spin-off
Pookie Horror Pocket.
Pookie Horror Pocket and a number of other things, just the little one-scene shots and etc. Welcome back to the show, Zachry.
Gentlemen, always great to be here. Thank you for having me back.
Touchies!
Touchies! Exactly.
And you're gonna get some more Phil soon. So,
oh, cool! Yay! I love Phil. Does everybody love Phil?
Everybody loves Phil. I think he's easily a fan favorite throughout all the series. So he's gonna get his own short soon. So I've been working on that.
Yeah, and we'll fill you in shortly about who Phil is. If you don't know, if you've not listened to any of the interviews before,
go back,
or read any of
back and listen to them.
Zachry's stuff, you will know here shortly. So, for those that have not listened to and don't know who you are, kind of give us your little elevator pitch of your life and how you got into writing, what you have been writing.
Sure thing. My name is Zachry Wheeler, and I am a science fiction novelist. I've been writing for many years. I've got many series out. The Immortal Wake was the first foray into writing with my debut novel Transient, which I will let everyone know is currently free because I have, as my library continues to grow, I want to give readers easy access to my writing world. So Transient is free across all outlets, the ebook version.
Cool.
and then that's a darker series. And then I also have the Max and the Multiverse series, which is a much lighter read, very, very much a sci-fi comedy. I've also got plenty of shorts, and then the spin-off series Pookie Horror Pocket Presents, like you were saying. And my writing history was kind of an odd creation. I'd never planned to be a writer. It just so happened to work out that way. And I can, oddly enough, thank the craft beer movement for that, which is a kind of always strikes people as kind of a head tilt moment. It's like, what, beer made you a writer? It's like, yeah. I was really into the craft beer scene when it got in, and I had created a review blog because I didn't like how it was portrayed as snobbish. So I was wanting to kind of I wanted to tell stories about beer. And those kind of became reviews, and that turned into a review site that kind of gained traction. And then, 1,000 reviews later, I'm like, oh, I'm actually getting kind of good at this.
Yeah, so I know how to write. Yeah. I are a writer. That kind of
oddly worked into an idea I had for a story, and that was the birth of Transient.
Yeah, and I just a quick overview of Transient.
Sure. So Transient can best be described as a reimagination of the vampire legend through the lens of science fiction. I wanted to give the story a more, and this was, I will preface this by saying, when I got this idea, this was when Twilight was popular.
Right.
So I wanted it to be a little more teenage lovey, and I wanted it to be, and of course, to each their own. For all the Twilight fans, sorry, it just wasn't my cup of tea. And
no sparkly vampires.
No sparkly vampires here. So I wanted what I really liked about, I really love vampires as a monster. A lot of the classic tales are just, infinitely rereadable, and it's just like, I really want, but all of it was kind of, vampire lore in general was kind of explained away as mystical.
Right.
So I really wanted something that was had like a rooted, realistic, scientific kind of feel to it. And that was the idea, that is like, okay, if vampires were real, how would that happen? It's like, how could I explain that through biology and stuff like that? And that's where the story blossomed from.
Cool. And then the Max and the Multiverse series.
Very Douglas Adams-esque.
Yes.
Thank you. That's the comment I keep coming back for.
Well, I tell you, you really, yes, you are, you hit the Douglas Adams.
I will say this
button there.
in our last interview, and I think I noticed I mentioned this on a recent post on the blog. It's like, you had made the comment, I believe Ben made the comment, that we were talking about Roy in the first novel of Pookie Horror Pocket Presents, the spinoff from Max and the Multiverse. And Ben had said it read like a lost manuscript from Douglas Adams.
Yes, I did say that.
And I basically it felt like just backing away and closing up shop and just walking away from writing. It's like, and I'm done. And that's it. That's it. I have reached my potential. Thank you. So yeah, that had me going for weeks. So
and I remember at one point reading that, because I do some of my reading while I'm eating breakfast, sitting in my computer and I'm reading, and I came to one part of that story and I choked on my breakfast because I was not ready to see that. The book it's hilariously funny.
All of the Max
and the entire multi-Max,
spin-offs of Max, which, I mean, it could be infinite if you chose to go anywhere with it. Any of the characters, any of the settings, any of the places. It's just very Douglas Adams and all over the place. And that's what I like about the writing, is that you start telling a story, and then it becomes a story within a story within a story within a story, and then you veer off over here, and then, oh, by the way, we're back to where we started, or where we're actually going now,
and that's very familiar in tone with Douglas Adams. I mean, I think of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which does a lot of that kind of sidetracking, in order to fill in gaps here and there, and which point they then tell their own story, and then meanwhile, back at the farm kind of thing. Right. So you utilized a lot of that, which I found just enjoy. It was such a joy to read. It was very refreshing because not many people are doing that now. We lost poor Douglas some years back, and to be able to see someone, you come along and pick up that mantle and deliver content that is, it harkens back to the stuff that Douglas wrote, but at the same time, it is uniquely original, and very much you. It's like people really need to be picking this stuff up and reading it. I mean, if anybody was a fan of Douglas Adams, they really need to read the Max books.
Exactly.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, it goes back to the whole plotter and pantser debate, where this is the kind of material that if you planned it out, it wouldn't have the impact it did. Going into and Douglas was the same way. It's like I've consumed his entire library multiple times, and of course in reading interviews and seeing how he works, it's just like he was the most effective when he was under that kind of deadline pressure. So it's just like, I don't really know where this is going, but let's get to the end. And that's where, a lot of the comedy came from. And I approached the Max books in a very similar way. Right. And I think it really shines in that regard, because whenever I'm writing Max, I'm only about 2 or 3 chapters ahead of where I'm writing. Right. And as far as where the story is going. And a lot of times, like, I'll have an idea of where I think it's going to end up, and it just absolutely does not get there. But where it ends up is much more entertaining. Right. So like going into the 4th book is like, I know where the first couple of I've already written the first couple of chapters, and I know where the next ones are going, but I have absolutely zero idea where that book is going to end. Right. And it's fun to think about. Right.
And I like some of the shorts that don't make it into the books. But I think, what was the first one? The item of monumental.
The item of monumental importance.
When I read that, it was like, where the hell is this going? And then it was like, weird. Oh my God.
And that was, and it really comes out of this storytelling, or this methodology, because all of the Max shorts started out as novel ideas, or ideas that were going to go into novels, but they just didn't really push the story forward, or it kind of lagged the plot down, weighted the plot down to where it kind of lagged a little bit. So that's where the idea came. It's like, oh, this could actually be a story in and of itself. So that's how the shorts came to be.
Cool. And the other thing that I've enjoyed is the second Pookie Horpucket story that you wrote. What was that one called again?
Nimmy.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. What I liked about that is now you sort of kind of branched into the area of satire. There was something very satirical about the whole idea of first contact. Yep. And I mean, it was funny, and yet, I've so been immersed in science fiction, and since like I could barely walk, that I looked at that and thought, I could see how you're almost like putting a mirror in front of humanity's face and saying, this is what we might do if all of a sudden first contact happens. Granted, I don't think it would be quite as outlandish as it happened in Nimmy. Well, that's true. I mean, it's a big universe. I mean, it would be hilarious if you ran into aliens that were like that. But at the same time, it kind of shows, where our intelligence sits when, in the world, and how we view ourselves in the greater universe. So I love that you're able to kind of go into that direction as well, and yet not bog it down too heavily.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's where a lot of these ideas come. I've also detached myself from setting out to write a certain length. It's like, I'm going to sit down and write a book. It's like, no, I have a story idea. Is this how long is it going to take to wrap it up? That's why the second Pookie Horpocket ended up being a short story, because this was really funny a really funny observation about how like a society like ours would deal with first contact. But I think if I'd drawn it out into a full novel, it just wouldn't have had the kind of punchy impact that it did. Because a lot of these, you'll have an idea that can be really wrapped up in 10,000 words or even less. You don't have to drag it out into an overblown observation piece.
Right.
But yeah, you're exactly right. It's like these ideas are very much or very much come from kind of reflections of how we would deal with certain kind of aspects. And it's I also have the sandbox of the Durangoni space station.
Right.
It's like there's a lot of differences, but there's also a lot of similarities. The kind of multiple cultures from multiple places crammed into this box. It's like shenanigans ensue. How would they deal with that kind of stuff?
Yeah, the Durangoni station is just it. My God, you could write almost a short story or book on everybody that lives there.
He wouldn't
till the end of time.
Yeah, I was going to say I don't think Zachary's got enough time to do that. He would have to skip out on eating and sleeping.
Oh, you should see my work in progress list with Durangoni. I just keep coming up with these ideas, and I'll never get to all of them. But it's just this juggling of priority. Is like, oh, this is a good one. Oh, this is a good one. And actually, the Phil short that I'm working on leads into the next Max in the Multiverse book, which leads into the next Pookie Horpocket Presents book.
Oh my
Nice.
God!
So they're all interconnected.
I like that.
So without giving a lot away, one of the antagonists of Max 4 is going to be the focus of the next Pookie Horpocket Presents. So that because the antagonist is based on Durangoni, so it's fun to think about. Okay, I have all these ideas for Durangoni, but I can actually fit them into the space of the Max series and just kind of make it one big giant bubble story.
Yeah,
That's fun to think about.
Yeah, just quickly, who is Phil?
Phil. How to describe Phil?
Big green blob that's lonely.
It's actually a very good question in thinking about the Phil short, because this is exactly the problem I'm having with the short. I'm actually on my 4th rewrite right now, because trying to describe Phil in the context of a short story has been a daunting task, because he just requires so much exposition to get to the point where readers can understand what the hell he is.
Right.
So Phil was first introduced in Max and the Snoodlecock, the second book, and in the context of a book, you have plenty of space to introduce a character like this, and that's why the short story has been kind of challenging. But Phil is a giant blob on a planet all to himself, and he is the smartest being in the universe, but he is also extremely innocent and extremely handsy.
Except with Max,
make of that
no filter.
There's a whole lot of what's a good word for that? There's a whole lot of complexity to Phil that's hard to introduce in a few sentences. So I would actually volley that question back to you, gentlemen. Who is Phil?
I don't know. Actually, I was thinking there are some descriptions of Phil in Max and the Snoodlecock as Max is being told, who Phil is. And I keep thinking, maybe it wouldn't be too bad to get their take on what they think Phil is. Yeah. A paragraph or two, what they think, what their observations of Phil are, and of course, then you add Max's observation, and he had a completely different reaction, or I should say, Phil had a completely different reaction to Max than anybody else. So, by looking at their different points of view, my kind
as
of
others have said about Phil.
Yeah, I mean that might be a nice way to kind of introduce him in a way without giving away too much.
Yeah.
Yes, that's actually I like that strategy. Well thought out, Ben. So when we first meet meet Phil, it's because two of the four main characters, Zoe and Para, the second book starts out with an inciting event that they don't understand, but they know Phil might have an insight, so they need to they need to run by this new scenario by Phil and get his take. In trying to explain it to Max, they're speaking very softly about Phil, to almost like preparing to meet a really strange uncle, that kind of that kind of person. So Max is kind of prepared, but wholly unprepared for the kind of invasiveness that Phil has about him.
Touchies!
So Phil really likes visitors,
but again,
trying to prepare Max for that fact. As Zoe and Para have completely, they love Phil. They understand what they're getting themselves into, and they understand the playful, innocent nature of it. But Max does not, and it all goes awry in a hilariously disgusting fashion.
Yes. Anyway, okay. So enough about reminiscing about the old stuff. Why the hell are we talking to you today?
Oh yeah, that thing.
Now that we have only a few minutes left, gee.
Yeah. We'll spend as much time as we need to.
I am releasing, or by the time this comes out, I have released an Immortal Wake prequel novella that leads into the events that Transient establishes. It's called The Bone Maiden, and it's my first venture into horror territory because it takes place during the Savage Gap, which is the period of time between the fall of humanity and the rise of the Eternal Society.
Cool.
What was the motivation for telling this one? I mean, was it just simply that you wanted to kind of dip your toe into the world of horror? Or was there actually, you felt this need to discuss, the building up of the Eternal Society?
So this is an interesting question about how it came about. So whenever I published The Mortal Vestige, which was book 3 back in early 2020, I was done with the series. I thought it had wrapped up exactly how I was hoping it would. I was very satisfied with the ending. It was a complete trilogy, and I quite literally walked away from it. I had no intention of returning to it because I had other projects. I was, starting a new series at that point with Pookie Horror Pocket Presents, and it's just like I thought it was done. So a couple of author friends of mine, we get together fairly regularly just to kind of hang out and chat nerdy over some brews. Eric Michael Craig is a hard science fiction author and a good friend of mine, as is Jeff Habiger, who is a sci-fi fantasy author. Both of whom I recommend if you're looking for new material. But we chat fairly regularly, and because we're the authors of these works and we're all fans of each other's works, we can do deep dives into our worlds. So it's fun to kind of think about like the what's the word for it? Like the Silmarillion kind of content,
right,
of our kind of stuff. So it's kind of fun to do those deep dives. And then Eric had asked a question about this period, and this is not a spoiler or anything because it's firmly established in the first book. And he had asked a question that kind of got the brain wheels turning, and I can't reveal the question because it would give away the big point of the Bone Maiden, and it how you get one of those ideas in your head and you just can't get it out, it just sticks in your craw, and you just kind of have to work through it. And then 2 years later, that question became the Bone Maiden.
Oh, wow.
So I had no intention of writing it. I had no intention of exploring it. I had no intention of coming back to the series. And that's why the dedication for this novella is this story is Eric's fault.
I see.
Well, I as we discussed in our pre-interview, I read all of the Bone Maiden, and I'll just go ahead and say I very much enjoyed it. It is very tight in its storytelling. It's what I like to say, purely economical. I mean, there's nothing wasted as you're reading that. And I that's the kind of reading that I just love to dive into. When putting this story together, did you already have some sort of an idea about where the vampire society was at, and how they were reaching, they were at this particular point, and how it was heading towards this other particular destination that leads into the Mortal Wake series? I mean, how well thought out and developed was this?
That's a great question. So the question that was posed by Eric basically created the last chapter. I knew, or I didn't know at the time, but it's like I started thinking about how that, and a lot of this came to the end point of the Savage Gap and how Nexus was coming to be. And Nexus is the large governing body, like the global association, or the global alliance that runs the new society. And it's like, how is that being developed? I had a general idea of how that happened, but I didn't know if there was any inciting incidents or any kind of concrete reasoning. And that's what we had started to think, or what I had started to think about based on that question. And that's where that's how I knew the big reveal tie-in was going to be at the very end of the last chapter. The question from there became, how do we get there? Where do we start with this character to get to that point? And that's what I had no idea. And that's where the question kind of kept, really kind of churning in my head for months and months and months. And it basically, I worked back from the conclusion, or I worked back from the finale. And then trying to find, okay, where is a logical point to start this? And I just kind of worked back to chapter 1. Now and going back to our original conversation about, is this going to be this could be a short, this could be a novella, this could be a full novel. And I had played with a bunch of different ways to capture this story, and it really just, I finally found like a logical beginning, and then it was just connecting all of those dots up to the end, and it turned into a novella length, which I think is a much tighter, more effective story because of that. But I had gotten to the point where it's like, okay, I'm going to make this a full novel. It's like, well, no, it don't. This doesn't really need to be revealed, or this doesn't add anything, and it just kind of worked back to the beginning.
Cool. And as I had said that you're asking the question about dipping your toe into horror, I should actually clarify that or amend that, because really your first dipping into horror was the first section of first few chapters of Mortal Vestige, which had some really gnarly murders in it. But were you did that kind of tickle your horror bone in a way to make you want to explore more of the horror aspect as a writer?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, now that you point that out, I really absolutely adored the antagonist of Thursday Midnight, Book 2, and writing those scenes that led into the Mortal Vestige was very rewarding. It's like, not from like, ooh, I get to kill, not that kind of thing, but it was just like, this is really engaging to think about in terms of writing impactful scenes. Because I mean, anyone can write, bloody mayhem. It's like, and then all this happened, blah blah blah, blood, gore, all that kind of stuff. It's like, but making it meaningful to
have a purpose,
to the overall story,
a motivation for your antagonist to do that.
With that is just very. It was really rewarding. I loved it.
Yeah, cool. Well, anything else you want to say about this book? When does it come out now?
Comes out on March 30th. March 30th. So the paperback is technically already available. If you would like to, by the time this airs, both of them will be out, I would assume. And but yeah, it's you
actually,
can. I would say you can read the Bone Maiden as a standalone. It completely stands on its own 2 feet.
Cool.
But some of the reveals may be less impactful if you haven't read Transient.
Okay, well that gives me time to get my review out.
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah, I think we're the 21st is when we're going to do this.
Cool.
So it should be before the big opening.
Oh, so okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So
Nice.
Cool.
So
And-
where can people find the Bone Maiden and your other works then?
So Bone Maiden is going to be, this will be the first time I've released any title completely wide. Like usually I'll do an Amazon exclusive just to do some targeted promotion, but I decided, you know what? No, I'm just going to do the full court press with this one. So you can get it on any of your favorite outlets, Amazon, Apple, Nook, Kobo, your choice. And then the paperback is available through Amazon. And at this point, all titles are fully distributed. So
Yeah.
you can find Max and Pookie and Immortal Wake all on your outlet of choice.
Yeah.
And where can people follow you?
All right.
Do you
Best
have
way
any
to
social media?
follow me is at my website, ZachryWheeler.com, complete with the weird spelling, Zachry, Wheeler.com. And the best way to keep in touch with me and see what's going on is to join my newsletter, which is a monthly mailer. It's free to join, and I actually send you a free copy of the item of monumental importance as a welcome gift.
which is
So you can jump right in.
That is a really, I mean, pardon
You know,
the term, that's an almost obtuse way of introducing people to Max.
But you know, the interesting thing is those short stories are standalone. You
Quite.
don't have to know anything about Max other than you know that they're oddball stories in a multiverse.
And that was an intent from the beginning. It's like I really like. I mean, short stories are fun to write just because they're lean and punchy. But at the same time, the Max series is kind of strange conceptually. So I wanted to make sure I could actually write some short stories that kind of stood on their own 2 feet and actually served as entry points into the series. So you can read any of them by themselves. The Item is the first one. Then there's Nibble Nom Death Trap, which is an action horror spoof. There's Sparkle Pirate, which is a speculative
my
romance
God.
spoof.
Sparkle Pirate was so
Yes.
great.
That one was a lot of fun to write too. And then the latest one before Phil comes out is Hisbot Hank, and that's a spoof of mercenary teams.
Yeah.
So pick them up in any order you like. They're digestible and fun, and
then
hopefully you get some good laughs out of them.
Of course, the Pookie Horpocket presents novellas
Oh yeah.
are out there.
So Pookie Horpocket. So Roy is the first novel, and then there's Nimmy, which is a short, and those you can read in any order too. So pick up any of those on any outlet you
And
choose.
they're just as irreverent as any other Douglas Adams book.
Exactly.
Thank you, Ben.
or the Zachry Wheeler books.
True. Yes, I should say, yeah, but I meant to say Douglas Adams and tone, but they're just as irreverent as any of the Max books.
Exactly.
Oh, you do me a great service, gentlemen.
Well, thank you so much, Zachry, for being on the show again this time.
Always a pleasure. Have me back whenever you want. It is a delight to talk to you, gents.
Thanks.
Hello, this is Zachry Wheeler, science fiction novelist, and you are listening to the Two Gay Geeks.
Well, here's a few selected birthdays for March 21st through March 27th, 2022. March the 21st, Gary Oldman.
I love this guy.
Actor, Harry Potter, the Hitman's Bodyguard, and Hitman's Bodyguard's wife.
Yeah.
Bram Stoker's Dracula, Fifth Element, among others.
Immortal Beloved.
Yep.
His portrayal of Beethoven was just inspiring.
And has used a different accent in almost every film.
Almost every film.
Sang a duet with David Bowie. You've Been Around by longtime Bowie guitarist Reeves Gabriels.
I didn't know this.
Yeah. On his album. Modest Mussorgsky, composer, one of the 5 great Russian composers, another being Rimsky-Korsakov, who I always say Rimsky-Korsakov sounds like everybody, which he did.
Yeah.
And I always think, is that Scheherazade?
Yeah.
No, it's something else.
Scheherazade sounds like everything.
Exactly. He wrote Night on Bald Mountain, Pictures at an Exhibition, that was scored by Ravel, whose birthday was just a week or so ago. And
yeah, because Mussorgsky wrote everything on piano.
Yep. And wrote his opera Boris Godunov as opposed to Boris Badenov and Natasha.
Yeah.
And then we have Facebook friends, Marshila Marriott and Sue Schuster and Crazy Joe Fiore.
Happy birthday.
March 22nd, Ross Martin, actor, prolific actor through the 50s through the 80s. Oh my gosh, he did lots and lots of television. Just most famous and recognizable for his portrayal as Artemis Gordon in The Wild Wild West.
Loved him in The Wild Wild West.
He had a heart attack in the last season, but continued working. He loved acting, but played bit parts and was guest starring in everything because the studios were unwilling to take a chance on somebody that had a heart condition.
Oh,
so
what a shame.
But he worked and actually died of a heart attack. He was also in an episode of Night Gallery, which was the
I seem to remember
Obscura.
that. Yes.
Yes, he was great. And then he was actually a violin virtuoso at the age of 8.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Then we have Louis Lamour, writer, wrote mostly westerns, or as he liked to call them, frontier stories.
Yes.
He also wrote a couple of science fiction stories and some other stuff. My grandfather read everything he wrote.
Yeah, my stepdad was a big Louis L'Amour fan.
And in 1988, when he died, all of his works, all 105 of his works, were still in print. He was one of the most popular writers in history. March 23rd, Joan Crawford, actress of the golden age of Hollywood, prolific. I wrote down 1,008. It's 108 credits in IMDb. May as well be 1,008. From movies to TV. She was also in a Night Gallery short called Eyes, where she plays Miss Claudia Menlo. Actually, she met Steven Spielberg on the production of that. And corresponded with him regularly. In fact, she wrote him just 2 weeks before she died. A congratulatory letter. And personally answered all of her fan mail, which took up most of her time on the weekends. During the time of 1959, when her husband had died from a heart attack, when he was the chairman of Pepsi-Cola, she took his board seat, and from 59 to 73, she was on the Pepsi board.
Right.
And she was kind of forced into retirement. And if she and the president of Coca-Cola were in the same restaurant, they would send a bottle of each other's product.
Well, how magnanimous of them.
Yes. And then we have Robert Gallo, biomedical researcher. He discovered the human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, as the cause of AIDS in 1986. Actually started prior to that. In 84, they started to isolate what was causing AIDS, but it wasn't until 86 that they actually came up with that one piece of that virus, and it eventually led to the blood test to identify it, and actually missed out on the Nobel Prize that two other researchers that he worked with in discovering HIV. For some reason, he got left off the nomination petition.
How weird.
Anyway. And we have friends of ours, Jim Miller, Andrew Godot, and Jen McClary Allen. March 24th, Jim Parsons, actor, best known as Sheldon Cooper on Big Bang Theory, has been involved with his partner Todd Spiewak for 19 years.
Yes.
And married in 2017. Is prone to motion sickness, so he prefers to drive rather than ride in a car.
Interesting.
Yeah, he doesn't get motion sickness if he drives, but if he's riding, he does. And then we have Tig Notaro.
Oh, gotta love her.
Most known recently as Commander Jet Reno on Discovery. My gosh. And the little tribute that they did to her on the Ready Room was really
very
great.
nice.
I just enjoy her bit of humor that she adds. And she lightens up every scene that she's in.
I don't think she was meant to be the breakout character that she was.
No, I think she was supposed to be a one-off.
I do too, but she was so good, and the way she delivered her lines when we first see her in Discovery, that I thought, the fan response was great.
Yeah.
I thought, we got to keep her now.
And always has an interesting take on every situation that you just don't, you say, oh, never thought of that before.
Right.
And has done stand-up comedy and was just here in Phoenix. Unfortunately,
we couldn't attend.
It was an opera night. So her spouse, Stephanie Allen, and she have 2 children, Finn and Max.
Oh, bless them both.
And was diagnosed with cancer in 2012 and had a double mastectomy.
Oh, my goodness.
Without reconstructive surgery. And she didn't do chemo. She was doing some other treatments, retroviral or something. I can't remember. I didn't write it down. I forgot to write it down. But has been cancer-free since 2016.
Good for her.
Yep. Then we have friends of ours, James Spring and Travis Osland. March 25th, Patrick Troughton, a second Doctor. What else do you need to say?
Not much else.
Not much else. Bela Bartok, Hungarian composer. He and Franz Liszt are, is that right? Franz Liszt are the 2 great Hungarian composers. And he studied folk music extensively and was a founder of the ethnomusicology. And his music was influenced by folk music as well as a number of composers of his time, Strauss, Debussy, and Brahms. And his opera Bluebeard's Castle.
I love Bluebeard's Castle.
Written in 1911. Oh my gosh. What an incredible...
That is an amazing... We may have to watch that again.
Yeah.
Because was... I was absolutely mesmerized by how powerful that opera was.
It is. And then we have Elton John, singer, songwriter.
Icon,
one of the longest enduring pop singers ever. I remember when he became huge in the 70s.
I do too.
Oh my God.
And what I love is that he was able to reinvent himself as
Multiple
musical
times.
tastes changed, but at the same time, he still managed to stay a tiny bit ahead of the curve. So his music was always fresh for its time. The man is a genius and a phenomenal piano player.
Yep. He and Freddie Mercury were very good
close.
friends. In fact, was one of the few people right after Freddie's diagnosis with HIV that he told. So has been married to David Furnish since 2005. And in 2006, it was estimated he had sold over 250 million albums. That's 15 years ago.
Yeah.
17 years ago.
I love Elton John.
Not 17, sorry. 2000, yeah. And hopefully, cross our fingers.
Crossing our fingers that nothing goes wrong.
That we get to see him in concert
on his
in
final
November.
tour.
Yes. March 26th, Leonard Nimoy, actor, director, most known as Spock on Star Trek.
Philanthropist, also.
Yes, exactly.
An artist. He was a very good artist.
Yep. Had a part in Fringe as William Bell.
Yeah.
Or Belly, as Walter liked to call him. He really was. And it was he died just before the end of that series.
Yeah. What a shame.
Yeah, really a shame. Then we have Duncan Hines, which was an actual person.
Really?
It's not just a name on a cake box.
And it's not related. Wait, I know. He's the twin to Fraser Hines.
There we go.
It's a fact.
It's a fact, yeah. He was a food critic, and he pioneered restaurant ratings, a pioneer of restaurant ratings in America. Because he had traveled all over as a salesman for a Chicago printer and had eaten meals all over the country in restaurants, and decided to, with his wife, they decided that they would write a book on restaurants for people to have a meal at, because there at the time in 1935 there was
nothing like it.
Interstate system,
Right.
So people were traveling all these roads like Route 66 and some of the other highways like that, and there were no food chains,
no restaurant guides or anything like that for
restaurant
people to work
guides
with,
or very few chains of restaurants. And so
it's not like now. I mean, you travel from one city, it's like,
my
okay,
gosh.
where's a good place to eat? You just pull it up. I mean, but yeah, you had nothing like that back then.
Yep. And it also spawned another book of recommended lodgings. In 1953, he sold a cake mix recipe to Nebraska Consolidated Mills that was eventually bought by Procter & Gamble and then ConAgra, the Duncan Hines cake mixes. So that's his history.
Nice.
He was an actual person. And then we have Facebook friend Angela Joseph. Happy birthday. March 27th, Julian Glover.
This is another guy I really like.
Oh my gosh. Actor known for Indiana Jones, For Your Eyes Only, and Doctor Who's City of Death, among many other things.
Scarleone.
Yes.
Or Scaroth. Take your pick.
Scaroth, or Captain Tancredi.
Captain
You know him?
Tancredi. No. That
One of our favorite episodes.
Now we need to watch City of Death again.
Exactly.
Yeah, but Julian Glover is a huge reason why that episode is so strong.
Oh my God. He just has this air about him.
Yeah.
In everything he plays that is just a little bit detached. And it has this air of, I'm better than you.
It's an air of aristocracy.
Exactly.
But at the same time, there's something kind of snide about it.
Yep, exactly. He's just wonderful.
Great actor.
He was also in the Doctor Who story Warlords. He was
oh, really?
Richard the Lionheart. Yep.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah.
that. How about that?
And then we have Austin Pendleton, actor. You probably don't know his name.
I know who he is.
He's a character actor that has bits part in a million things, and you always say, who is that?
Yeah.
I
think you really need an umbrella.
Yeah, Christmas with the Cranks
Yep.
sort of sums up his characters where nobody knows who the heck he is.
But he knows everybody else.
Exactly. But he was in Christmas with the Cranks. He was Gurgle in Finding Nemo.
Yeah.
He was in an episode of West Wing.
Yes.
He was.
I just saw that recently.
In everything.
He's
just
everywhere.
a bit part character actor.
He was also in the movie Short Circuit.
Yep, exactly. And then we have Gloria Swanson, actress.
Gloria. Oh, where's her middle name? That's a joke, people.
From Soap Dish, you'll
Yeah.
understand. Went from silent movies to talkies. She was a huge box office draw for the silent pictures, and she collected husbands and lovers.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. And Norma Desmond in Sunset Boulevard.
There's a lot of similarity there, people.
Yeah, a lot of Norma's career mirrors Swanson's career.
Yep.
And Gloria Swanson did actually work for Cecil B. DeMille.
Oh, yeah.
So it was just, I just love Sunset Boulevard.
I do too. It's
She
so
is
weird.
So
It
creepy.
is such a weird movie, but it's all well. We need to watch that again too, because it's a brilliantly shot film too.
It is. And then we have Facebook friend Scott Bubshahi. Happy birthday. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Hi, this is Kevin,
And this is Jason.
and we're the co-hosts of The Bright Side with Kevin and Jason, your weekly comedy about tragedy.
Every week, I teach Kevin about some tragic event in history, and then we find the bright side to it.
And every week, I learn from Jason something I wish I never knew.
You can find our podcast anywhere you find podcasts.
That's The Bright Side with Kevin and Jason, your weekly comedy about tragedy.
Go give a listen to Kevin and Jason over at the Bright
I
Side.
just
Podcast.
love those guys.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counselors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
We want to give a shout out to the Joshua Tree Feeding Program, a 501c3 nonprofit food pantry for the HIV and AIDS community in Maricopa and Pinal counties. They are an all-volunteer organization, and they could certainly use your help. Go to jtfp.org to give a single gift or a monthly recurring gift.
And it's time for
Why don't you not do this first one, do the rest of them.
Oh, do the rest.
We'll recycle that.
Okay. Yeah, we just have a few minutes. So this is feedback that we received from articles and episodes that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. And the links for each of these will be in the show notes for this episode number 370 at tggeeks.com, starting with regarding LGBTQ plus neo-noir comedy Relationship Killers premieres at the Chinese Theater February 26th. Got a comment from Patricia Chica. She left this for us on Instagram saying, "Thank you so much, TG Geeks." And then we also got a comment from Cheek Arts PR, which is her public relations company, and also saying, "Thank you for spreading the news for Relationship Killers film. We love the TG Geeks." And we close off with regarding Hamish Downey's 5 more questions with Christopher McCombs. Christopher McCombs left this on his Facebook page saying, "Thank you to my friend and fellow creator Hamish Downey for the interview about the Benza. New episodes coming soon. I had the opportunity to be interviewed by TG Squared Studios about the Benza again. It's in English. Please check it out." And that's her feedback.
And if you want to leave a comment, you can do that on our Facebook page, our Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, or directly at tggeeks.com. You can also leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice. Well, as everybody knows, we are huge supporters of independent creators, whether filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please, wherever you find them, at cons, at Etsy pages, their web pages, wherever you find them, chat them up, chat other people up about their stuff, buy their stuff, support independent creators. If you are trans or are questioning your gender identity, and if you are in crisis or are feeling isolated and need someone to talk to, or you know of someone in a similar situation, there is a special hotline just for you. The hotline is provided by translifeline.org and staffed by trained counselors who are transgender themselves. The hotline in the U.S. is 877-565-8860. In Canada, it is 877-330-6366. Or you can go to translifeline.org to learn about the important work they are doing. Please reach out for help. You are not alone.
Yeah, baby. They're like two gay geeks. They're together, you know. They're two gay guys and they're geeks. Is that okay?
We have just a moment. We can talk about.
We finally saw Spider-Man No Way Home. And the reason it took so long is because we're not going out to theaters at this moment. We're choosing to stay home. And it finally came out on home video, a digital download. So I bought it and watched it. And wow, I can say that I really liked it enormously. I understand, I'm just echoing what a lot of the public said. I mean, this was a very popular film, and for a very good reason. It's because it is a very, very good movie.
Yep, exactly.
And it's time for our weekly review. These are items that we ran on our website at tggeeks.com. And just as with the feedback, the links for each of these articles will be in the show notes for this episode number 370 at tggeeks.com, starting with Sunday, March 13th, Dirty Chupacabras number 91. On Monday the 14th, TG Geeks episode number 369. On Tuesday the 15th, Ben's Breakdown. The Atom Project may be sci-fi fluff, but it also has tremendous heart. On Wednesday the 16th, Disney Plus releases trailer for Marvel Studios' Ms. Marvel. Oh, I am so excited for that. On Thursday the 17th, Andrea's Angle, The Outfit, Seamlessly Excellent. And that is a movie I'm very excited to watch as well. On Friday the 18th, Hamish Downey's new Sushi number 122, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond. And we close off the week on the 19th. Breaking Glass releases South by Southwest LGBTQ Breakout. See you then this April. We have some shout-outs that we need to make. First to our good friend Arkle, Brian Weber. He's on Twitter as Brian the Ampersand List YouTuber. He has his Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News, which does republish some of our content every now and then. So that's what we give him the shout-out. To find the Post-Dispatch News, find him on Twitter, and you do that by searching for Geek of All Trades. And the word geek is spelled G, the number 3, K of all trades. And while you're looking for all things Arkle, go to his YouTube channel, it's youtube.com/Arkle Studios. He has a number of projects there. His Shameless Cash Grab series, which is in season 7. His Rans vs. Zombie series. Yes, it is over. He's not making any new episodes, but the past episodes are still there. He also has various game shows, not game shows, but games that he's playing. Trick and Treat, Star Trek Online, as well as his Arkle Tier Ranks. We must also give some shout-outs to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and articles on their pages. First to the Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to the moderators for saying that we could share away our content there. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/Gay Geeks After Hours, and that's all one word. And then to the Gay Geek for the same. And their URL is facebook.com/groups/The Gay Geek. And as always, we give special thanks to their moderator, Jeremiah Reeves.
Other places we can be found are Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, as well as where other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Sci-Fi Radio at 3 a.m., 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays for a replay of this show, and listen to their other content. They are a 24-hour geeky internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as we race through the rest of that, should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We'll have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, as well, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Stay safe, wear a mask, get vaccinated. Peace.
Cheers.